My beloved child, I know the feeling in your heart right now, the quiet confusion that settles in when you do not know which direction to take, when choices feel heavy and clarity feels distant. And I want you to hear me clearly from the very beginning that you are not abandoned in this moment, and you are not walking without guidance, even if it feels that way to you. Because I see you standing at this place of uncertainty, carrying questions you cannot fully answer, replaying thoughts about what you should do next, wondering if one wrong step could change everything. And I understand how unsettling that feels, but listen to me now. Being lost does not mean you are far from me. Often it means you are closer than you realize, because when your own understanding reaches its limit, my guidance becomes clearer. And I know you wish for signs, for certainty, for a clear voice telling you exactly what to do. But guidance does not always arrive as loud instruction. Sometimes it comes as quiet assurance, a steady presence reminding you that you do not need to rush or panic, because I am with you in the waiting. And I see how you have tried to be responsible, how you have tried to think things through carefully, weighing outcomes, fearing regret, and that effort itself shows the sincerity of your heart. Yet I want you to understand that you were never meant to carry the weight of your future alone, because your life is not a puzzle you must solve by yourself. It is a journey you are meant to walk with me. And even when the path ahead looks unclear, I am still guiding your steps, sometimes by slowing you down, sometimes by closing doors that would harm you, sometimes by keeping you still long enough to grow wisdom within you. And I know how uncomfortable stillness feels to you, because it feels like delay, like nothing is happening, like you are falling behind. But stillness in my presence is never empty. It is often where direction is formed. And I know there are moments when you compare yourself to others and wonder why they seem so sure, so confident, while you feel unsure and uncertain. But comparison will only deepen your confusion, because you do not see the full story of their lives, and their path is not your path. And I have never measured you by how fast you move or how confident you appear. I measure you by your heart, by your willingness to seek me even when answers are unclear. And that willingness matters deeply to me. And I want you to release the fear that being unsure means you are failing, because uncertainty is not failure. It is often the beginning of deeper trust. And I know you sometimes fear that if you pause too long, you will miss your opportunity, that life will move on without you. But what is meant for you will not pass you by, because I am intentional with your life and careful with your calling. And even the pauses are part of your preparation. And I know there are voices around you and sometimes within you that urge you to hurry, to decide quickly, to prove yourself, to show progress. But my voice is different. My voice calls you to peace before it calls you to action, because actions taken in anxiety rarely lead to peace, but steps taken in trust will always be guided. And I want you to know that I am not standing ahead of you with crossed arms, waiting to judge your next move. I am walking beside you, attentive to every hesitation, every fear, every hope you carry. And I am patient with your questions, because I would rather you walk slowly with me than run ahead without me. And I know there are moments when you wish you could go back and choose differently, replaying past decisions and wondering if you took a wrong turn. But listen carefully. I am not limited by your past, and there is no decision so final that I cannot still guide you forward from where you are now, because redemption is part of my nature, and guidance does not stop because of one mistake or one season of confusion. And I know you sometimes ask, what if I choose wrong? But I ask you to consider this. What if choosing with me, even imperfectly, is safer than waiting in fear? And I am not asking you to leap blindly. I am asking you to stay close, to keep your heart open, to listen for my peace rather than your panic, because panic shouts, but peace leads. And when you feel lost, the most important thing is not to find the whole path at once. It is to take the next step with me, even if that step feels small, because small steps taken in trust are powerful. And I want you to remember this truth as you sit with your uncertainty, that you are not lost to me. You are known, you are seen, and you are being guided even now in ways you may only recognize later. And this season of not knowing is not meant to break you. It is meant to teach you to lean on me more deeply. And I am here, guiding you patiently, gently, and faithfully, even when you do not yet know what to do next.
My beloved child, as you continue to listen and remain open to my voice, I want you to understand that feeling lost is often not about lacking direction, but about being invited into deeper dependence on me. Because when your own plans feel uncertain and your confidence feels shaken, it creates space for my wisdom to guide you more clearly. And I know how uncomfortable that space feels to you, because you prefer clarity, structure, and assurance. Yet I am teaching you that true security does not come from knowing every step in advance. It comes from trusting the one who walks with you through every step. And I see how you wrestle internally, weighing possibilities, fearing consequences, wondering which choice will lead to peace and which might lead to regret. And I want you to hear me clearly now. Peace is not always found by choosing the option that feels safest to your mind. It is found by choosing to stay aligned with my presence, even when the outcome is unclear. And I know you sometimes wish I would simply tell you exactly what to do, removing all doubt and hesitation. But if I removed every uncertainty, your faith would have no room to grow. And faith is not something I want to rush past in your life. It is something I want to deepen. Because faith rooted in trust rather than certainty will sustain you far longer. And I know you fear making the wrong decision because you worry that one wrong step could ruin everything. But your life is not as fragile as you think when it is held in my hands. And I am able to guide you even when your steps are imperfect, even when your understanding is incomplete, because I am not only the God of clear paths, I am also the God who walks with you through winding roads. And I know there are moments when you feel pressure from others to decide quickly, to explain your direction, to show progress, and that pressure can make you doubt yourself even more. But I am not asking you to satisfy the expectations of others at the cost of your peace, because the path I am leading you on may not always make sense to those around you, yet it will make sense to your heart when you learn to listen for my peace instead of their opinions. And I know you sometimes mistake silence for absence, thinking that because you do not feel a strong direction right now, I must not be speaking. But silence is often where I am drawing you closer, teaching you to listen more deeply, to recognize my guidance not only in dramatic moments, but in subtle nudges, gentle warnings, and quiet reassurance. And I know you sometimes feel like you are standing still while the world moves forward, and that can make you feel anxious or left behind. But stillness is not always stagnation. Sometimes it is protection, because I see paths you cannot see, dangers you cannot recognize yet, and outcomes you cannot fully imagine. And when I slow you down, it is not to punish you, it is to preserve you. And I know you struggle with patience, especially when your heart longs for resolution. But patience learned in my presence becomes strength, not weakness. And I want you to know that every moment you spend seeking me instead of rushing ahead is shaping your discernment, teaching you to recognize my voice more clearly. And I know there are times when you question your own ability to hear me, wondering if you were missing something or misunderstanding my guidance. But hear me now. I am not trying to confuse you, and I am not hiding my will from you, because I desire to guide you more than you desire to be guided, and I will make the next step clear when your heart is ready to walk it without fear. And I know you sometimes replay past seasons when you felt confident and certain, and you wonder why things feel different now. But growth often brings you into places where old ways of trusting are replaced by deeper ones, and what once felt simple now requires surrender. And that surrender is not a loss, it is a gain, because it teaches you to rely on me more fully. And I know there are days when discouragement whispers that you are stuck, that nothing is changing, that your prayers are unanswered. But unanswered prayers do not mean unheard prayers, because I am responding in ways that shape you, protect you, and prepare you, even when you cannot yet see how. And I want you to stop interpreting uncertainty as rejection, because I have not turned away from you, and I have not withdrawn my guidance. I am simply leading you in a way that builds trust rather than control. And I know you fear that if you wait too long, you will miss your chance. But I want you to remember that I am the one who opens doors, and when I open a door for you, no amount of delay can close it. And when I close a door, no amount of effort can force it open. And that truth should free you from panic, because it means you do not need to strive endlessly to secure your future. You need only to stay close to me, and I will guide you at the right time. And I know you sometimes feel torn between multiple options, each with its own risks and hopes. But guidance is not always about choosing the perfect option. It is about choosing to trust me within the option you take. Because when you walk with me, I can bring growth, correction, and blessing even out of choices that feel uncertain at first. And I want you to release the belief that you must have everything figured out before you move, because clarity often comes after obedience, not before. And as you continue to walk through this season of not knowing, I ask you to remain honest with me, to bring your fears, your hopes, and your questions into my presence, because I am not overwhelmed by them, and I am not impatient with you. And I want you to remember this truth when you feel lost, that being lost does not mean being alone. It means being invited to trust me more deeply. And I am guiding you, step by step, even now, even here, even when you do not yet know what to do next.
My beloved child, as you remain here and continue to listen, I want you to understand that guidance is not only about direction, but about transformation. Because the way I lead you is shaping who you are becoming, not just where you are going. And I know that when you feel lost, your first desire is clarity, a map, a clear answer that removes uncertainty. Yet I am working on something deeper within you, teaching you to recognize my presence even when answers are incomplete. Because a heart that learns to trust me in uncertainty will not be shaken when clarity finally comes. And I see how often you judge yourself for feeling confused, thinking that stronger faith would mean fewer questions. But faith is not the absence of questions, it is the decision to keep walking with me while you carry them. And I am not threatened by your questions, I welcome them, because questions brought into my presence become doorways to deeper understanding. And I know there are moments when you feel torn between moving forward and staying still, afraid that moving too soon could lead to regret, while staying still could lead to missed opportunities, and that tension can exhaust you. But listen to me now. I am not a God who plays games with your future, and I am not waiting for you to guess correctly to bless you, because my guidance is relational, not transactional. And I am more interested in your closeness to me than in your perfect execution of a plan. And I know you sometimes fear that your emotions are unreliable, that your feelings might mislead you. And while emotions are not meant to be your sole guide, neither are they meaningless, because your emotions often reveal where trust is being stretched and where healing is still needed. And when you bring those emotions to me, instead of letting them control you, I use them to refine your discernment. And I know there are days when discouragement clouds your vision, making everything feel heavier and more complicated than it truly is. And on those days, even simple decisions can feel overwhelming. But I want you to remember that discouragement does not define reality, it distorts it. And when you feel discouraged, it is not the time to condemn yourself or rush into decisions out of frustration. It is the time to draw closer to me, to allow my truth to steady your heart until clarity returns. And I know you sometimes feel like you are waiting for a dramatic sign, something undeniable that tells you exactly what to do. But most of my guidance comes quietly, through peace that settles rather than excitement that rushes, through consistency rather than impulse, and through alignment with love rather than pressure. And I want you to learn to trust that quiet peace even when it feels less impressive than certainty, because peace is one of the clearest indicators of my leading. And I know you sometimes struggle with trusting yourself, especially if past choices led to pain or disappointment, and that fear can make you hesitate now. But listen carefully, I am not asking you to trust yourself alone, I am asking you to trust me with yourself. Because when you invite me into your decision-making, you are not relying on your strength or wisdom alone, you are allowing mine to guide you. And I know you sometimes replay past decisions and wonder where things went wrong, but hindsight can easily become a place of self-blame if you are not careful. And I do not want you living backward, constantly revisiting what cannot be changed. Because redemption is forward-moving, and I am always guiding you forward, even when I heal the past.
And I know you sometimes fear that your current confusion is a sign that you are off course, but confusion does not always mean misdirection. Sometimes it means you are shedding old assumptions, old expectations, and old identities that no longer fit where I am leading you. And that shedding can feel uncomfortable, even disorienting, yet it is necessary for growth. And I know you want assurance that you are not wasting time, that this season of uncertainty has meaning, and I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing surrendered to me is ever wasted. Not your waiting, not your prayers, not your seeking, because each moment you choose trust over panic is strengthening your spiritual discernment. And one day you will recognize how much you learned about listening, patience, and humility in this very season. And I know you sometimes fear that others will judge you for not having clear answers, for not moving as quickly as they expect. But you are not living to satisfy the timeline of others. You are walking with me, and obedience to my leading will always matter more than approval from people. And I know you sometimes feel isolated in your uncertainty, thinking that everyone else seems to know what they are doing. But many people hide their doubts behind confidence, and you are not weaker for being honest about yours. Honesty with me is a strength because it allows me to guide you without resistance. And I know there are moments when you want to give up searching, to settle for whatever is easiest, just to escape the tension of not knowing. But I want you to resist making decisions merely to escape discomfort, because relief is not the same as peace, and peace will always align you with my will, even if it requires patience. And I know you sometimes ask how you will know when it is time to move, and I want you to remember this. When the time comes, the step will be clear enough to take without fear dominating your heart, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust me enough to move. And until then, your role is not to force clarity. It is to remain close, to keep your heart open, to stay honest with me, and to trust that I am guiding you even now, shaping your discernment, refining your trust, and preparing you to walk forward with confidence, rooted not in certainty, but in my faithful presence beside you.
My beloved child, as you stay with me in this moment and continue to listen, I want you to understand that the feeling of being lost is often the place where trust is either strengthened or replaced by fear. And I know how easily fear tries to take control when you do not know what comes next, whispering that you must hurry, that you must choose quickly, that waiting means failing. But listen to me carefully now. Fear rushes, but I lead with peace. And whenever you feel pushed, pressured, or panicked, that is not my voice guiding you, because I do not drive you forward with anxiety. I draw you forward with assurance. And I know that deep within you there is a desire not just to choose something, but to choose wisely, to choose in a way that aligns with purpose and not regret. And that desire itself is a sign that I am already working within you, shaping your heart to value discernment over impulse. And I know that part of what makes this season difficult is that you want to feel confident again. You want to feel sure of yourself, sure of your direction, sure that you are not wasting time or missing opportunities. But confidence built only on certainty is fragile, and I am teaching you a deeper confidence, one that rests in my presence rather than in perfect understanding. And that kind of confidence will sustain you even when life changes unexpectedly. And I know you sometimes feel like you are standing at a crossroads, afraid that one wrong turn could undo everything. But your life is not as fragile as fear makes it seem, because I am not only present at the destination, I am present on the road itself. And even if you stumble, even if you misstep, I am still able to guide you forward, correct your course, and bring good from what you thought was a mistake. And I know that uncertainty has a way of making you doubt your worth, making you question whether you are capable, whether you are qualified, whether you are enough. But your worth has never been determined by how clearly you see the future. It has always been anchored in my love for you. And that love does not fluctuate with your confidence or your clarity. And I want you to stop interpreting this season as a test you must pass, because I am not grading you, I am walking with you. And I am far more interested in your trust than in your performance. And I know you sometimes feel alone in this struggle, like no one truly understands the weight of your decisions or the confusion you feel. But I understand completely, and I am closer than you realize, and you do not need to explain yourself to me or justify your hesitation, because I see the sincerity of your heart, and sincerity matters more to me than speed. And I know there are moments when you feel tempted to settle, to choose what is easiest simply to escape the discomfort of not knowing. But settling out of fear will never bring peace. And I do not want you to shrink your life just to feel temporarily safe, because I have not called you to live small. I have called you to live guided. And guidance sometimes requires patience, courage, and the willingness to wait until peace leads you forward. And I know that waiting has stretched you emotionally, tested your patience, and challenged your trust. But waiting with me is never passive, it is active surrender. And surrender is not weakness, it is strength that acknowledges you do not have to control everything. And I want you to see that even now, as you wait, you are growing in discernment, learning to listen more carefully, learning to recognize my voice above others, and that growth will serve you long after this season ends. And I know you sometimes fear that you are falling behind while others move ahead, but progress measured by comparison is never accurate, because you cannot see the full story of others, and you cannot see the full work I am doing in you yet. And one day you will realize that the depth you gained in this season could not have been gained through speed alone. And I know that part of your struggle comes from wanting assurance that your efforts, your prayers, and your patience are not in vain. And I want you to hear this clearly now. Nothing you offer me in sincerity is ever wasted. Not your questions, not your waiting, not your searching. Because each of these is shaping a heart that will be able to walk confidently when the path becomes clearer. And I know you sometimes wish I would remove uncertainty entirely, but if I did, you might rely on certainty more than on me, and I desire a relationship with you that is built on trust, not control. And I want you to begin seeing this season not as punishment or delay, but as preparation, because I am strengthening your inner foundation so that when direction comes, you will walk forward with peace rather than fear. And I know you may still feel unsure even after hearing these words, but uncertainty does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are in a place where trust is being refined, and I am right here with you in that refining process, patient, gentle, and faithful. And I want you to carry this truth with you as you continue forward, that you are not lost beyond my reach, you are not confused beyond my guidance, and you are not delayed beyond my timing. Because I am guiding you, even now, even here, even in the middle of your not knowing. And I will make the next step clear when your heart is ready to walk it in peace rather than fear.
My beloved child, as you come to this final part of my message, I want you to let your heart rest in the truth that you are not standing at the edge of uncertainty alone, because I have been with you in every step that led you here, and I will remain with you in every step that follows. And I know that even now there may still be questions lingering in your mind, concerns about whether you will truly recognize the right moment, whether you will know when to move, and whether you will have the strength to follow through. But I want you to hear me clearly now. You do not need to have complete confidence in yourself to move forward. You only need to place your trust in me. Because when you walk with me, your weakness does not stop my guidance, it invites it. And I know that part of what makes you feel lost is the fear of choosing wrong, the fear of regret, and the fear that one decision could undo everything you have worked for. But your life is not hanging by a thread, and your future is not so fragile that one imperfect step could destroy it, because I am greater than your mistakes and wiser than your fears, and I am able to lead you forward even when your understanding is incomplete. And I know you sometimes think that being guided means never feeling confused, never hesitating, never doubting, but that is not true, because guidance is not the absence of uncertainty, it is the presence of trust within it. And trust grows when you choose to listen to my voice instead of the noise of fear. And I know fear has tried to convince you that you are behind, that you should have figured things out by now, that others are ahead while you are still waiting. But fear always measures progress by comparison, while I measure progress by faithfulness.
And you have been faithful in ways you may not recognize, faithful in continuing to seek me, faithful in resisting decisions driven purely by panic, faithful in waiting when rushing would have been easier. And that faithfulness matters more than speed. And I want you to stop seeing this season as wasted time, because waiting in my presence is never wasted. It is where your discernment has been sharpened, your humility deepened, and your dependence on me strengthened. And I know you sometimes feel tired of waiting, tired of uncertainty, tired of hoping for clarity that seems slow to come. But weariness does not disqualify you. It simply means you have been carrying this season for a long time. And I am not asking you to carry it alone anymore. I am inviting you to lay it down and trust that I am holding it for you. And I know you sometimes wonder if you will miss my guidance, if you will fail to recognize the right door when it opens. But you are not as disconnected as you fear, because a heart that sincerely desires my will is a heart I delight to guide. And I am not playing games with your future or hiding my direction from you, because I desire your peace more than you desire certainty. And I will make the next step clear in a way that aligns with peace rather than pressure. And I know you sometimes wish that guidance would come in dramatic ways, but often it comes as a quiet confidence that settles over your heart, a sense of steadiness that remains even when answers are incomplete. And that peace is not something you manufacture, it is something I give. And I want you to learn to trust that peace as my leading. And I know there are moments when you feel like giving up on searching, like choosing whatever is easiest just to escape the discomfort of not knowing. But I do not want you to shrink your life just to avoid uncertainty, because I have not called you to live driven by fear. I have called you to live guided by trust. And trust requires patience, courage, and surrender. And surrender does not mean passivity. It means acknowledging that you do not have to control everything to be secure. And I want you to understand that even when you feel lost, you are not drifting aimlessly. You are being shaped intentionally. And the clarity you seek will come, not all at once, but at the right time. And when it comes, you will be ready to walk forward with wisdom rather than haste. And I know you sometimes fear that this season will last forever, that you will always feel unsure. But seasons change, and this one will too, because I am faithful to lead you forward, and I am not keeping you here to frustrate you. I am preparing you to move with confidence rooted in trust. And I want you to remember this when doubt returns, that being lost does not mean being abandoned. It means being invited to rely on me more deeply, and I am honored when you do. And as you move forward from this message, take comfort in knowing that you do not need to see the whole path. You only need to stay close to me, because I am guiding you step by step, patiently, gently, and faithfully. And I will not let you wander beyond my care. And nothing you are facing now is greater than my ability to lead you through it. And rest in this truth as you go, that I am with you, I am guiding you, and I will make your path clear in the right time. If this message touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe.